This month, CBSN is celebrating the LGBTQ community. Each week, we will be holding in-depth conversations on the issues and barriers that remain in achieving equality. Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey has been a staunch defender of civil rights protections and is here now. She is also the country's first openly gay state Attorney General. Thank you for joining us so early in the morning. Madam Attorney General, as I was sort of reading about your journey from basketball player to defending corporate America to heading up the Civil Rights Unit, I just thought to myself about how your journey has coincided with some really major kind of landmark decisions that have had life-affirming results for members of the LGBTQ community, spearheading the challenge when it came to DOMA and up until now, and you know the number of sort of anti-trans pieces of legislation that we're seeing popping up across the country. And so my question to you is sort of twofold. My question is, what has this meant for you personally? I know you're an attorney, but also personally to be able to take on these challenges that have been so transformative for many people. And how does it feel to know that every day there's probably another challenge that you have to take up that is attempting to infringe on the rights of people within the LGBTQ community?
Well, it's great to be with you this morning, Anna Marie. Thank you for having me on. I just want to acknowledge that we begin here June. It's Pride Month. It is a time of celebration, and it's a time to acknowledge how far we've come. For me personally, it's very meaningful. I'm in Massachusetts. We were the first state to adopt marriage equality, and you've seen this incredible evolution over a relatively short period of time in terms of the rights and the protections for the LGBTQ community. It means a lot to me because I've benefited from those protections and from the non-anti-discrimination laws that are in place here in the state, in education, in housing, in the workplace, in healthcare. These are profoundly important. I also know, though, because I meet every day with members of the LGBTQ community, they come into my office or I come across them in the community, there's still a lot of hurt out there. There's still a lot of unfinished business. So I think both for me personally and professionally as an attorney general, where my job is to safeguard and protect people's rights, including their civil rights, I'm always both heartened by looking at how far we've come and also really mindful of the work that we still need to do across this country so that people really feel equality as it's meant to be felt both under the law and in society.
We've been hearing lately how much representation matters. You hear that sort of, it's become a catchphrase now. The Biden administration is certainly particularly diverse. There are a number of LGBTQ members in high-ranking positions. What does representation mean at the federal level?
Look, seeing is believing. I mean, the way we actually develop the most informed laws and policies and regulations for our government, whether it's at the local, state, or federal level, is by having a government that truly reflects the people that it is there to serve. And for far too long, any number of people, whether based on gender or race or gender identity, have just been excluded from too many roles. So it is really exciting to see the LGBTQ representation in the Biden administration. It is significant. And again, seeing is believing. I know, Anna Marie, when I'm out and about and I meet a young person from the LGBTQ community and they or their parents come up to me and say, hey, you give us hope. You make me think that I can be or do anything I want to be. That is because they see someone in a role doing something that for a while seemed to be off limits or unattainable. And so it's important both as a matter of driving informed policy, of having a representative government, and also of assuring people out there that nothing should limit you except for your own hard work or imagination when it comes to opportunity really in this world. That's the kind of government we want to be.
I think that's a great point. That was actually going to be my sort of next question is, what message you would give to, a young woman, because you faced a lot of barriers. I mean, not only like in your 2014 race, For Attorney General, you weren't just attacked for being gay, you were attacked for being a woman. I mean, there's also just garbage online. I would also like to point out that you played professional basketball, and I think are you like 5'4"?
5'4", yeah. I was obviously a point guard.
Okay. No, but I thought, man, talk about at every step of the way, people saying, no, I don't think you would be the right fit for this position in many ways. And there you are showing, even sort of before you became an attorney, you were breaking barriers. But I did want to ask you about that. We talk often about how LGBTQ youth struggle often in isolation, and this goes to representation. But what would your message be to young members of the LGBTQ community, young women out there who are struggling right now?
Just stay strong and believe in yourself. I recognize that even in my state, LGBTQ young people suffer disproportionately higher rates of suicidality, of homelessness. I think COVID in this year and remote learning and situations at home have only exacerbated some of those anxieties and real problems. But my message is look, believe in who you are. There are people out there who believe in you. There are attorneys general like me who will fight for you, and know that we have a whole history. As we look back through history, draw inspiration and energy from those who've come before, who've persevered, who've overcome, and think about that and use that to affirm who you are. Also, you make a great point about ignoring the noise. You're right. Maybe through basketball, I was used to competing and blocking out a lot of the noise. You kind of have to do that in life if you're going to succeed and if you're going to try to be true to who you are. So there are enough people who will try to knock you down for one reason or another, or may say degrading, dehumanizing things. That's about them. It's never about you. So believe in yourself, find supportive networks, and know that each day we are going to work on the state and federal level now. And I'm so grateful to the Biden administration for immediately rolling back so many things that were put in place during the Trump years that were harmful to our community. Know that we are on a path towards greater equality, and that we will get there someday.
Really quickly, before we let you go, you're up for re-election as Attorney General next year, but there's also a looming gubernatorial race. You've recently raised more than $120,000. That's in April. That's according to the Boston Herald. Any plans for your political future that we might want to know about?
No, just to do my job. I mean, coming through COVID, we have a lot of work to do here in the state. We have a lot of work to do nationally to come through this pandemic, particularly now as we face a lot of economic issues. So I feel very privileged to be doing my job as the people's lawyer, as an attorney general, and we have plenty on our plate.
All right, Madam Attorney General, thank you so much.
Great to be with you this morning.